Number one, ladies, you are not the problem. He's not the problem. The problem is the problem. Let me say that again. You're not the problem. He's not the problem. The problem is the problem. And I'm saying that because you have to have a certain mental attitude and understanding that whatever is said, you don't have to take it personally. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Before You Do with Verlyn. I am your host and favorite premarital coach, Verlyn Tarleton. Thank you for joining me today. And we are going to talk about how to stop debating with men. This is so imperative because the ultimate goal is for us to understand each other and to begin to be together again, to build together again, and to stay together again. As we're entering into this new season, I feel it's so very fitting because right now I am in the process of refreshing my podcast in a way to reach a wider audience and hopefully share ideas and thoughts that will really make a difference in our community. The first thing I want to do is put out a few disclaimers. What I am sharing here, I am not sharing these things because I am a man. I'm sharing these things because I have a man and I take the time to learn from him so that I can understand him better, right? And I'm not saying that all men are the same, but we know pretty much that they share some basic attributes. And that is a thing that we need to do, ladies. Start understanding our men better. So, we're going to talk about how to stop debating with men, ladies. Another disclaimer, I am not saying in any way that you should be abused, berated, belittled, degraded, anything of that nature. We're talking about basic conflict resolution and conflict management. All right. The goal of this episode is to bridge the gap in our communication by incorporating effective communication and listening skills. I'm sure we all agree, most of us have the talking part down, but the listening, we might need a little help in. And so through my personal experience of being married for almost 19 years in my current marriage, right? And having many, many conversations down through the decades, I dare to say there's a huge problem in our community in terms of being able to understand each other and solve conflict using communication and effective listening skills in respectful ways. And just a quick side note, there's a huge difference between listening and hearing, right? What I mean is you can hear things in passing, you can hear things just all around you, but you're not necessarily listening. Listening is very intentional. And let me tell you, ladies, there are 3 words typically that men do not like to hear. Those 3 words are, we should talk. When they hear those words, they know it's about to be a thing. And so whenever there are issues or conversations that need to be had, here's some preventive things to keep in mind. Number 1, ladies, you are not the problem. He's not the problem. The problem is the problem. Let me say that again. You're not the problem. He's not the problem. The problem is the problem. And I'm saying that because you have to have a certain mental attitude and understanding that whatever is said, you don't have to take it personally. All right. You hear the problem and have the mindset that no matter what's being said, I'm going to prevent the emotionalism that will cause this to be a hard conversation. So if you get some of these things in your mind going in, it's a good thing. If you and your partner, your boyfriend, fiance, husband, whoever, if you're together, then we're going to assume that you're on the same team. Sometimes we as women have to remove the anger that we hear or the emotion and listen for the answer. You might be saying, what do you mean about that? Okay, so your man comes to you about a problem. If you listen closely enough, the answer is usually in the problem he's stating. But again, We need to remove the anger or maybe the frustration and listen for the answer that's being stated in the problem. Remembering you're not the problem, he's not the problem is the problem. And as long as you can learn not to take it personally, you can translate that problem. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say your husband comes to you and maybe you just said something to him, right? Something he didn't do. And then he may say to you, "You don't appreciate anything I do." I would suggest you turn on your translator. He might be saying, "You don't appreciate anything I do." But what he's really saying is, "I don't feel appreciated by you." It's not a personal attack against you. He's not saying you're a bad wife. He's not saying you're a bad person. He's letting you know in his own way that he does not feel appreciated and he wants you to appreciate him. You may have to learn some Manglish. That's what I call man mixed with English, Manglish. We can do that. All right. Now, let's say things get a little heated. Maybe you didn't think in advance that you're not going to take it personally. Maybe you weren't able to remove the anger or the emotion. Maybe you didn't hear the answer. Sometimes you might need to take some deep breaths and respectfully say, I'm going to need a minute. I need to process what I've already heard. Or maybe you can say, I'm not in a good headspace right now to finish this conversation. Respectfully, right? It's all in your tone and how you say it, how you convey that information. If you are dealing with a rational man, most likely he'll respect that and he'll give you a few minutes. You guys can go cool off and maybe reconnect after you recollect yourself. That is how it would typically go. Here's the thing. This is one thing about us women, and y'all know I'm telling the truth. We can use our mouth and it can be closed, but our faces will be wide open, right? I'm talking about that body language, the rolling the eyes, the rolling the neck, the perk in the mouth. I know I used to be good at it, right? Those things show signs of disinterest, the hand up, don't talk to me or whatever. And even disrespect. And that's definitely a no-go. It causes more harm than good. And so when you're saying I need to take a minute, it's not with the conjecture of the eyes and the fingers and the hands in somebody's face. Let me tell you this. Disrespect to a man is like throwing grease on a kitchen fire. Okay? It will cause an explosion. Going fisticuffs is a loss for both parties. And that's why it's better to respectfully say, I need a minute. I need to get back to you. This isn't going well for me. I need to come back so I can understand what you're saying. Now, this is something I have done personally. I don't have to do so much anymore. Like I said, I've been married going on 19 years. But it worked for me. And that is, I waited for a break and I looked at my husband eye to eye, calmly, and I gently said to him, I am not your enemy. Maybe I had to say it twice, but I would look at my husband in his eyes and I would say, I am not your enemy. And then I let that rest. I didn't say, I cooked for you and I did this for you and you should be talking to me and I don't know why we have this. None of that. I said it. I captured his attention and then I waited for the de-escalation. Because sometimes in that moment, there needs to be a gentle reminder that, hey, we're on the same team. There were times, ladies, I would rest my hand gently on his leg and remind him of who I was. I would say, I am your wife. I am your wife. I'm putting y'all on some old school game, okay? Some old school game that can help even in these modern times. Ladies, we have a lot of power in our mouths. More power than we probably understand. But we have to realize that power in our mouth can be used as a weapon or it can be used for peace. And you get to decide that. Now, we are all responsible for our own actions. You for yours, and he's responsible for his. But please keep in mind, your words can work a man up or they can talk him down. We really have to hone in on our power. We have to use it properly so that it brings us together instead of separating us. Nobody wins in a debate where there's yelling and screaming and high emotion. Nobody's understanding anything. Nobody's wanting to even understand anything. And so if we harness the power of a soft answer, our femininity can de-escalate anything. I've learned this from experience. I was not always in this mindset. In my younger years, I could get off, but it never did any good, only harm. I've learned that there's a better way and an effective way. Even the strongest man can be persuaded with the femininity and the softness of a woman who really cares. I am not talking about manipulating, nor is this about refusing to take accountability. It's about getting to the place where we can hear each other again and understand. Again, you're not the problem, he's not the problem, but to hone in on what the problem is and solve it together. A problem can never be solved through debating, through anger, and everything that entails. If anything, obviously, it escalates. Now you got another problem on top of the original problem that you were trying to solve. I just had a guest on my show a couple of days ago, and she quoted what her grandmother, or maybe it was her grandmother's friend, told her. And I think this is so fitting. Again, these are things that you can call preventive, right? There's a saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I stand beside that 1000%. And so she was having a conversation with her grandmother. This is why we need Big Mama again. And we need the aunties to pass down this wisdom, right? And how we can move. And she said, y'all been married for decades. How have you stayed married for so long? And I have never heard you argue. I've never heard the debate. And her grandmother told her, obviously, we disagreed, right? But we never argued. And she said the reason why they never argued was either before they got married or right after they got married. They told each other this: no matter what happens, talk to me like you love me. So profound and yet so simple. Talk to me like you love me. And they said that to each other. And that no matter what they had to discuss, whatever the issue was, the debate, the offense, the wrongdoing, even the anger, they stuck to what they said. They set a precedent and they were able to live by it. Now, of course, we're in a different society where everybody thinks that they're right and the new way is the best way. I'm just giving you something that I heard that worked. And that sounds like it could be a win-win. Now, you may not be in a place where you love the person that you're with. Maybe you haven't grown there. So you can take it down a notch and you can say, talk to me like you care about me. Let me say that again. Talk to me like you care about me. And this is going both ways, woman to man, man to woman. Here's the thing. If you care about someone or you love them, you'll consider your words and move differently. This is not a pass for bad behavior. It doesn't relinquish accountability, but it squashes the road of debating and accusations that lead to a dead end. These are things that we can think about or strategies that we can incorporate. It is paramount. Leave the debating alone. It only leads to a dead end. And nothing gets accomplished. I've been there and I've done that. All right. If you are with a person and all you do is debate and you can't find a happy medium, you can't talk to him or her like you love them or you care about them, perhaps you're with the wrong person. Perhaps you need to rethink whether this is your person. Maybe that season is up. Maybe you need to just take the lessons and exit in peace. So again, when you hone in on those communication, listening, and most of all, understanding skills, when you can pull this off, both parties can walk away feeling heard and feeling understood without walking away with regrets. Talk to me like you love me. Talk to me like you care about me. Listen to me like you love me. Listen to me like you care about me. Understand that you're not the problem. I'm not the problem. The problem is the problem. Let's come together and solve it. Make sense? I hope so. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to visit my website at verlyntarleton.com. You can download my free digital magazine. Until the next time, may you experience extraordinary love. Bye for now.